Aeurthah, the Book of Power, by the Bright Letter. A story of precious and moving things, instead of overcoming hardships. The grounds for the paths continued. Part 3. The Infinite Angel, Thrice Unbeatable, Wizard Credible, Iomin Sdvai, the apprentice, evolves into the Infinite, Gargoyle Spirit, God of Abstract, Ember Glyph, the Chamber. Aura and Legendum. I become a hermit scholar and wizard ninja, Iomin says, using Aeurthah, the Book of Power. A warm wind picks up then, sparking within the Ancient One a strong emotion, urging him to trek forth. It's time to go, Iomin remarks, and I know where I'm going. Iomin lets this feeling take over, culminating in heart-pounding excursion. Starting at his cottage in Gold Kingdom, he moves in an inner sense from Delrealm to Imaginstar. The land of Aeurthah is a special realm that usually alights from visualizations upon the mental plane. Aeurthah is special in that the 7 regions are hexagonal structures that connect in a particular way, travel made possible by moving in either an inner or outer sense between them. Iomin has made his way to the region of Imaginstar, exploring for crystals pertaining to the Aeurthah cycle on the way, the reasoning being this inner urge from his use of the Book of Power, the urge leaning to be quenched by the dragons found in this beautiful land. Iomin emerges from the forest ring to witness a dragon overhead, wheeling its way behind the great stone temple that is smack dab in the middle of the grasslands of Imaginstar. He goes to meet this dragon, passing over crystal energy within the external and chanting for mana along the way. Scales of shimmering emerald aura, the dragon's chest heaves due to its strong breath. What a surprise, grumbles the dragon. Iomin, the savior of the dragons. Well met, dragon. I am Av. Nice to meet you. Can I meet others? They are around. The dragon replies simply, calm, yet pressing. What is it like to be a dragon? The dragon turns his head. What do you mean? I mean, what do you like? What is a dragon? I will tell you about the dragon, the aura, the egg, and the scale. The dragon puffs out a cloud of smoke. There have been many tales of the mighty dragon, from different regions and unique accounts. But I tell you that from my vantage point, overall, this is the nature of the dragon. Us fire-breathing serpents are incarnated by the very flames spout from the dragon heart chambers. From whence its origin a mystery. For what dragon could spawn our line of which I take account of today? It probably took place in the glades untouched by man, where winds carry the essence of greenery, and the moisture in the air thick as the deep. Each dragon comes with a personal aura. This is shown by the color of their scale hide. I have seen dragons with the aura of the moon. I have seen dragons with the aura of the sun. Dragons with the aura of emerald. Even as the dragon spoke, the scales glimmered like a dream. Ruby, cloud, shadow, and depth, and more. It is a special thing, our scales, for not only do they come with a glimmer so mesmerizing, but the scales provide a thickness, measured of 3 degrees, regular, hardened, and great. Our dragon flies overhead, circling a spot the mighty serpent has designated for his flames. He is old, as if creaking, Iomin notes, and it is time to honor his karmic cycle, Av adds. Upon the land by the towering trees of the forest ring, he lands with a thud, and gurgles up a gorge of wreathing flame. Upon the scorched grass lay a single egg. Iomin and Av approach and watch this egg. It soon hatches a dragon with an aura of tree bark, like that of the creaking one. Who is to say the thickness of this new friend? May his fire breath be strong, says Av, followed by an impressive roar. A tear falls from Iomin. Dragons, how impactful you have been upon me. Iomin notices other dragons who come to surround the small tree aura dragon. I envy your beauty. The dragons look to one another and silently agree on something, producing grumble laughs about the crowd. We may bestow upon you our beauty, if you will accept. Iomin takes a moment to consider, then nods. I will. Here is the beauty of our aura. Fire breathes into the air above, and Iomin's etheric aura begins a dance of colors about him. Iomin intuitively sees an opportunity. He reaches into his aura and pulls for suitable clothing. This clothing changes in its color, to match the many auras of the dragons by the mood of Iomin. Auras such as tree brown, chakra indigo, depth black, cloud white, emerald green, amber orange, and lavender, a pale purple. Thank you very much, Av. Also, states a cloud dragon. We may impart to you hardness like scales. The dragons around Iomin, with auras of emerald, cloud, amber, ruby, lavender, and moon, breathe into the air above them, bestowing Iomin gold and ruby. Iomin sees another opportunity. He takes this bestowment and brings it surface as gold-tipped brown boots, two gold band bracelets on the left wrist, two gold rings inlaid with ruby, one on the left index finger and one on the right, a gold usk upon his collar, with a ruby in its center, and a crest crown to go along with his crest sword and shield, with a ruby upon its front. Again, thank you, dragons, from deep within. Thank you, savior of the dragons. Let this gold and ruby accessories, the legendum, be to signify you are a legend of the dragon path. Thank the dragon treaty. Now be on your way. Av asserts, and the dragons abruptly all head in different directions. Some head into the sky, some run across the grass plains, while others, the moon dragon and little tree dragon, bound away into the forestry. Iomin wastes no time either. He makes his way in an outer sense to Northern Fall, from Imagine Star, with his aura, with his dragon aura, and bestow the legend of Elixir. With the urge still in me, I know where I'm going, remarks Iomin. He appears in the village of Eldridge, one of the earliest settlements upon Northern Fall. A long time ago, Eldridge and Templedorn were neighboring, but after Eledantes and Redland became king and queen, the terrain changed. Northern Fall stretched the land away from Eldridge, keeping the village atop the mountain, along the fall's cascade. In the stretch, a beautiful field named Oparia took shape in its splendor of flowers, sparse evergreens, and peaceful wildlife, while the three rivers spout from the falls. Firstly, Landlife River has Oparia up against it. The middle river is Coal River, and is followed by Jet Streak, which is sidled by a lush forest, green. While the right of the river runs sidled to grasslands, until the port connects Northern Falls mainland to Wood Island, the left of the river leads down, the mining halls of Acodium, within the mountain, while Eldridge sits upon it. Oparia runs into the farmlands of aforementioned Templedorn. From there, Enido City holds a lively neighborhood of merchants, harboring the inn tavern, the Crystal Mug, and the Cathedral of Ventual. Iomin, well met! Iomin spots the man who has spoken, the Eldridge chief. Oh, hi, chief, Iomin bows. I hope you are faring well. Singulo smiles, ancient one. The chief smirks. It is funny they call you an ancient one. I have been in this land since Eledanta's youth. They both share a laugh. Ah, well, I guess the world goes on like that. Iomin looks around and sees the sky glowing as the sun rises into the day. The main campfire of the village is lit, and joyous hollers are heard amongst the people. Will you stay to share a meal of goat and herbs with my son and I? That sounds very nice. I'd be glad. Come, it will not cost a coin this morning. The chief and Iomin sit by the main fire amongst all the people. Shortly after, Yogal tumbles sluggishly out of his tent and sits next to his father, a sleepy, mushy face, surely still accounting of dreams. Had a nice rest, son? How could you tell? Yogalt mutters, closing his eyes in achy pleasure. You always had fondness toward your slumber, your dreams. Quite. Yogalt smiles. This is Iomin. The chief gestures toward the renowned Ancient One. Yogalt straightens and immediately extends his hand for Iomin to grasp. The Ancient One! Iomin takes his hand. I had a dream about you. What about? Just then, a mounting plate of leafy greens and roast of goat meat is set before the three. Yoga looks ready to eat. I'll tell you after the food. Iomin salivates. Father, Yoga turns. I'll be headed to Wood Island today, if you don't mind. I have to admit, son, I have my concerns. Oh, you and your fret of the land, Yoga mildly chuckles. What do you fret, Chief? The chief of Eldridge leans over his plate, with serious eyes on the adventure. This land is not what it was. How very melodramatic, Yogot swallows. He means the shift of the ground. If you don't mind, Iomin, I'd like to explain some things. The fire crackles. I'm all ears. Well, it began before Eledantus was king. He lived all the way up here, before this place was called Eldridge, so to speak. Iomin digests the information carefully. You see, our home was called Giria, and I am so named after it. But before it was Giria, it had its current name, Eldridge. In the times wherein Eledantus went searching to make a name for himself, as when the waters, before our witness, pushed the farther areas away, leaving Giria to be settled next to the waterfall, that is, Northern Fall. The people were worried that they would lose their rich tradition and memories, so in order to keep the olden days in their regard, in mind, our home went from being called Giria back to Eldridge. Silence ensues, but for the fire, and mindful chewing spread around the fire, as all gathered, gravitated to listening. My fret is for this very reason. I don't know how stable the land is, singular potent. So, Iomin, do me a favor if my son Yogol permits. Accompany him to the docks beside Eledante's grand castle. What is your answer? Iomin checks in with his calling to be a hermit scholar and a wizard ninja. It leads him to the very direction. I will. That's all right with me, says Yoko. I wish to speak with Iomin, actually. We leave gradually, immediately. Before long, Iomin and Yogot, Iomin and Yogot Gon make their way down the side of the mountain. My dream, begins Yogot. You were in it, and also the persona I share crystal collection with, a certain Gyront. I see. Gyront lived for a while in Imaginstar, as did I. My question is, how long have you been in Northern Fall? My family of fauns, satyrs, had their own space in Icodium, amongst the dwarves. My father's name was Quogon, which means old wizard. By the way, my name means young wizard. My name means peace, says Iomin to Yogol. They had just built their magical statue of King Hrothgar when the day resembling night occurred. This is when there was nobody left in the land beside me and my good friend Amfang Greek. We lived this way for time less of counting, and when we weren't looking, people were just there, back. It was like they had never left. When me and my friend finally noticed that they were no longer alone, he found his way to he found his way to Wood Island, and my family settled by the waters outside the mountain, which over time the land of the settlement shifted and turned to be at the top. At this point, Yoga and Iman were making their way over the fields of the farmland Temeldorn. Now I wish to describe my dream. A small child in a satin dress could be seen frolicking in the amber waves. I was coming from the docks and was headed to Ero's courtyard behind the Grand Castle. There I saw the awakened Magi Gyront, and you. But you weren't called Iomin. I can't recall what the name was at the moment. Why, Ventual, awakened Magi, the girl exclaims. Hello, High Priestess. Just passing through. Yoga and Iomin head on toward the Nino City. Where was I? You were saying I was called something else. Oh, yes. You were chatting with Elemental Fae about, a seed, I think. Is that all? It was a seed for a plant unlike that of which is accounted for at the moment. I am wildly interested in this plant, for you see its juice has powers to give you a body of your selection. They approached the crystal mug. Let's say we get an ale. That'll do, Iomin responds. It is quite a roar with the sounds of merry drinking. Someone spots the two and shouts, Personas, hooray! The others return with a lift of their glass, and a chorus of hooray with laughter settling them back to their conversations. Hi there, I am Olivia, the innkeeper. What'll you have? How much does a mug of ale cost? I'll part with a mug of ale for a single gold coin. They both pull out of their individual collections a coin each. In turn, she responds with frothy mugs. They sit. A quick drink, and we're on our way, Yogot says, reminding. So what do you want the juice of that plant for, Yogot? I want to be as I am in my dreams. A man. Okay. What would you want with it? As if you were truly searching, just like my dream. Hmm. He sips his ale. He would want to free himself of waste. He would want to not be hungry. He would want to appear in an expression of how he feels inside. He would also want perfect health. I would like lots of things. Well, it frees your body of toxins and impurities. It nourishes you so you don't have to eat, unless you eat something else again. It gives you a select appearance and quality of body. So the dream went. That's exactly what I want. This stirs something in Iomin. His calling proves as much. Yoga raises an eyebrow. So it is. They feel they've had enough of their drinks. They return the mugs, say farewell to all present, and exit the crystal mug. To the docks, laughs Yogalt. They continue in moderate silence, both thinking hard. Iomin wants this juice, from the exotic plant mentioned. Yoga is deciding whether or not to share something. They enter and exit through Whitestone, and stand at the brink of Windpass. Well, you could walk me to the docks, but it's just past these willows. I can make it from here. I'm going to take a look at the garden of Ero's courtyard. Maybe there I can find this plant. No need. Yoga pulls out of the folds of his robes a crystal clear phial, filled with an amber liquid. Here. Iron gracefully takes the vial, and is filled with a semblance of such a magnitude. He twists the vial top, and carefully puts it to his lips. Oh, wow. He finds himself comfortably changing, though he thoughtfully retains a resemblance of himself. His aura turns to lavender. Thank you, Yoga, and goes to hand it back. I thought you wanted to be a human. I did, but I would like to share my sadder nature with my friend. All right, Yoga. Guess this is where we part ways. Yoga tips his horns toward Iomin, until we meet again. Iomin watches Yoga walk away. The plot of Abstract. Following Yogot's leave, Iomin goes down into the dungeons under Northern Fall. King Eledantus gives him access, and he enters to the dragon keep of the Grand Castle. Elemental servitors are circling Gil and another adventurer. In a quick succession of arrow thwips and dazzling magic blasts, the elementals are defeated. Ragnik, the adventurer introduces himself, Yil's younger brother. What is the trouble? Why were you being attacked? Lost elementals. They seem to wander about. Surely rogues. From my witness, they are not inherently vicious. It was then Iomin decided he would like to take it upon himself to be one to cast summon on the elementals, making them servitors, and casting other elemental spells as well, a standard of 20 in total. But in case more rogues should surface, he convenes with the tablets to cast a circle of luminescence, protecting him. I see you've taken a liking to the dungeon dwellers, Iomin. That reminds me, Leo begins. There are other dungeon dwellers here. They have asked to speak to the wizard of the ancient ones. That's you. Although they didn't call you Iomin. Just then, those who were in no doubt were the dungeon dwellers arrived by a count of 13. Iomin felt awfully safe, even in the midst of them. Stone creatures with horns, wings, claws, and tails. Hello, Ember, says one of the gargoyles, a small one, radiating light. Iomin figured this name Iomin figured this name was the same as what the fairies called him in Yogot's dream. He decided to roll with it. Hello, do you know who we are? Iomin felt as if the feeling that was urging him after his usage of the Book of Power was all a tingle. Another gargoyle spoke. This one was black stone, with copper dreadlocks. We are you, aspects of you. We are a part of abstract. We are a part of your creative expression. A massive surge of energy then flew into Iomin. He was recalling the reptilian man on the gem planet, showing him the cycle, and the crystals, and the tablets. This is what he meant, that the rest will be revealed. Abstract is his creative expression. Before he awoke, he was just a simple magi, often filled with feelings of unsettled and disharmony. Now he was an awakened magi, a persona, Ember Glyph. The gargoyle aspects of him can now all be accessed by gargoylery magic. His creative expression is coming back to him. Each gargoyle has a representation. They do for him what is called the seven bids, and they augment him along his journey. They augment him in conjunction with another part of his creative expression, the abstract capsule. It is an opaque orb that looms above his head, a magical object. With his will, he can send spells, usually 10 standard abilities, inside, with a rune of either bespike, a horn, or not, secondary, primary, or special. These runes designate the ability's level of potency. Ever since Iomin, Ember Glyph, left out to follow his urge from the Book of Power, he has uncovered aura and legendum per the dragon's bestowment. He has drank of the elixir, cast his circle, practiced gargoylery, encumbered the abstract capsule floating above his head, and even remembered his elemental spells. All of the above are a part of abstract, his creative expression. It's all coming back to me, breathes Ember Glyph. That's great, says Zeal. What now? Ember checks in with the Ethereum cycle, now subtle codes on an innocuous wall of crumbling rock. I have completed a cycle of the chamber path. It's time I move on to the third path. Farewell then, Ember, Yul says. Ragnik bows. Farewell, Yul. Until we meet again behind the northern fall. They embrace, and Ember leaves the dungeon. Ember makes his way behind the cascade of Northern Fall, like the four ancient ones promised to some time ago. He goes over the plot of abstract. This field is the bound. The bound is a screen, in which all magi emanate a projection. God made the magi, and God made the bound, unfathomably incomprehensible to the magi. God also emanates his own projection. At the bound's establishment, there was chaos, for there were many countless magi fighting for the one screen. So, God made his projection the standard, under which all magi spirit would be represented. This is the story of our universe. Ember takes into account Ethereum, a world of visualization. He knows that the abstract process is simply a way he may choose to traverse it, but Ethereum itself can simply be visualized. He also knows that God's projection as the standard is what forged the Ethereum map. Ember is now coming up to the falls. I, Ember Glyph, call this development of God's projection as the standard the great imbalance. I believe it is a reason for my feelings of unsettled and disharmony. After all, it is in my nature to emanate a projection as a magi. But since I know what God does is right, I seek to come to terms with the great imbalance and understand my emanated projection. As Ember Glyph is speaking, Vorhelenot meets him at the entrance to their tucked away living space. Vorhelenot finishes Ember's thought. You do these things through creative expression. It is so good to see you, Vorhel. Oh, it is so good to see you, Vorhel. You too. You come back as a hermit scholar and wizard ninja. Welcome. Thanks for listening to part 2. Next up is Act 2 of Aeurthah, the Book of Power. And we still have yet to record Acts 2 and 3 of the Fantasy Codex. I am the Bright Letter, Tariq Shaw, attuned to your infinity.